Why hello there, cyborgs and gremlins alike. Shams Nelson here from Fantastic Anatomy, and today we're going to be drawing the arm. And here's an arm that I was drawing in the tutorial video I recorded for this before that didn't work out due to technical difficulties. No, let's close that up. So this will give you a preview of what I'm going to talk about, and I'm not going to go through the coloring actually because I already have it here. But so let's quickly talk about the different muscle groups before I go into drawing them. So the main ones we're going to be thinking about are the deltoid up here, the yellow guy, this light blue tricep which tucks in behind the deltoid, this brachialis muscle which is often overlooked right here in the middle between the tricep and the bicep of course, and then we've got these brachioradialis and another muscle that kind of lump together, and this is one big forearm muscle that I'm going to think about, and here's the other set of forearm muscles. I know there's the flexors and extensors, but I'm not very good at the names, but I'll still be able to hopefully help you guys out with simplifying this whole form to draw it, because I've had a lot of trouble. And just to point out, this muscle right here is this muscle right here, and one of the big things that helped me is to remember that this big muscle that tucks in right behind the tricep up here is goes around to the same side as the thumb, and you'll see here it's on the same side as the thumb. And then you have another set of muscles that's on the pinky side, which are smaller, which are a little smaller and don't wrap around quite as much. So yeah, let's get to drawing. Oh, what is this? Alright, so I like to start out with getting like an idea for where the arm's going to sit, so I use these basic shapes. And one thing that I've realized is okay, so this is going to be the deltoid area. This is much shorter than this area, or that's how I tend to draw it, and it works out better that way. And then we've got the hand, and I have a whole video on the hand, but the thumb side, just so you can put a square that kind of comes around the same size as the forearm where the wrist is, and then you can just put a little triangle out there, and that's going to give you the thumb, because as you can see, well, here it doesn't show it as much, but the thumb does stick out a little more than the pinky side. And then just give it a nice flow like that so that everything comes together. But yeah, there's a lot more detail about that in my hand video, so let's go on. So I like to start at the top. The first guy we got is this deltoid. And the deltoid connects to the clavicle right here, so you can draw a curved clavicle going like that, and you're going to think of the deltoid attaching like this. And it's interesting because I like to just keep fanning this out like that, and it gives you a good feel for how the pec muscle is going to fit in there. And the pec muscle actually connects somewhere over here and here. So a cool landmark is this little triangle dip that you'll find will get formed between those two muscle groups, actually, I should say. And okay, so then the tricep tucks in from behind, but before we go there, I like to put in right here this brachialis muscle. Is just a little strip, and you can just think of it as dividing the bicep and the tricep. And then you've got this tendon that I'll usually just draw like a little loop, and there's the tricep has a couple different heads, or a couple different heads to it, so you can divide it like that if the person's particularly defined. And then let's just put in the what is this, trapezius muscle, so you can see how that goes up. And then here, this muscle is cool because it wraps around and it tucks in basically like behind the tricep here, so you can see how it tucks in right there. So we're going to have it tuck in and wrap around, and then just go down to where the thumb is. Boom. And then on this side, I just kind of, all the muscles just kind of come down like this in general. So let's put a little mark for the elbow. The muscles come down like that. And I like to divide it into a little group like this, because there's often this little, right here, you'll see that there's a little dip, and that's a nice little landmark to remember, or to help keep the realism, or to get your arm looking better. So this is a little stiff because I made it straight up and down. I guess what would be better is to remember that the arm rests with a slight curve to it. Everything in the body has a curve to it. I made this straight up and down so you can see it looks a little more lifeless. So let's just fill this one out real quick, and hopefully it should be looking a little better even if I do it roughly. So we got this guy wrapping around, coming down. It's the muscles, you put the little elbow. And it's cool because you don't really have to do it in any particular order. I don't think, but I guess that's individual to the artist. So I think this one does have a little more life. This one looks like the guy standing like a robot. This looks like it's hanging down a little. So that's an important thing to remember, and that's a lot to do with gesture. So maybe start off with the gesture, put in the, build the basic forms, and then come in with the details. And let's go ahead and do it from this angle too. And I'll follow that little procedure I created. And it's interesting because I didn't really have this procedure before I made this video. I find that kind of teaching, and obviously a lot of teachers will tell you this, is often one of the best ways to learn. And that's one of the reasons I started recording YouTube videos as part of my curriculum to train myself. Okay, so let me follow my own advice. Something like that. And then I like how there's a curvature, so it's kind of curving down, so let's keep that whole flow going on. Like this. Alright, something like that. So on this side, we've got the bicep in the front. That's going to be the muscle dominating the view in this area. The tricep looks pretty similar. You know, it's still wrapping around. Then back here we can see a little bit of the deltoid still wrapping around and tucking in between these two. You can't really see the brachialis. I guess it's down there a little bit, so if you want to get detailed, it would be right down there. I'll make this brush a little smaller. Okay. And then you can actually see more of the tricep on the inside when the hand turns. So if it turned all the way out, say something like this. So yeah, I encourage you guys to make your own videos sharing what you learned and stuff. Everyone's got good tips, I think, different tips, different techniques, what works for them, or what you just like doing. And I've been having a great time making these videos, so perhaps you shall too. So yeah, if the arm was sticking out more, then you'd see a lot more of this this tricep muscle right here. Okay, but now we can just see it peeking out. And then there's this guy, which I don't think you see it so much when you're not drawing every muscle, but I like it because it kind of helps. I don't know. It kind of helps when you're building it step by step to have that, or else just to hold it together. I'm not really sure how to explain it. Maybe that's just me. So then we got this muscle, and the way I remember this muscle right here, these brachioradialis here, brachioradialis. Let's see it more. This guy right here, it's on the outside of the arm. So what is called the lateral side, the part that points away from the body. So here's the body, and it's always going to be on the outside, even when the body is turned inwards, let's say. The hand is turned inwards like we did in the first view. Okay. It's still, it's on the outside, see, now it looks like it's on the inside, so it kind of ran counterintuitive to my point, but that's because the arm is kind of turned where I guess it's on the tricep side. Okay, I'm just going to shut up. Maybe that's not a good point. But I remember it as it's not on this side, it's on the thumb side. Okay, let's just stick with that. It's on the thumb side. Maybe someone will be like, I know what you're saying, and hopefully that'll be helpful, but if not, then just ignore that part. So then again, I divided this into two sections, and there really isn't that gap as much you can see in the anatomy, but it helps me out because when you draw the hand too, there's often those two little lines. Maybe it's just me because I'm really skinny, but I can definitely see these two lines that kind of come out from where the hand goes. Anyways, so that helps me out, and I think that's really, I mean, these are just like, I'm not trying to give you like the, if you're a doctor, you know, you shouldn't be using these videos to learn anatomy. This is artistic anatomy, so I'm just trying to help you guys out to get your drawings and your understanding of the arm for drawing better faster, basically. So yeah, I think that gives a good idea of how the arm works from this view as well. So let's go ahead and move on to another view. Now, the arm can be from all sorts of views. I mean here, okay, let's go ahead and do that super quick, because this is a pretty boring angle. So this is like, you know, if a person's standing, and then probably somewhere like that, arms hanging down. This is from the side view, and I guess it's okay, something like that, you know. So this is cool. One thing I'll say is that this technique that I use to get the arm and the pec thing going on still works here. See, it just goes like that, something like this. Alright, and then here's the clavicle roughly. I've got a neck coming out. Okay, I'm not going to worry too much about proportion or anything like that right now. Alright, so let's go with that. And then one thing that I've noticed is that from this view, can't really see it here as much, but I feel like the deltoid tends to curve. This is round and this is concave, but then it goes like that. You see what I mean? Anyways, that's how I draw it. That's how it helps me. And then it's also more towards the front of the body, this end. And then I like to put the brachialis kind of coming in there. So in this drawing, it looks kind of flat, like a cross, but I prefer to kind of have it tuck in like that. And I've seen that in other anatomy books that it'll be more like that. And I think it just looks a little more elegant. I guess it depends on the person too. So then you got, here's that tendon, here's the tricep muscle, okay, and then again the brachialis, is that what it's called? Brachioradialis. See, that's confusing. This is the brachialis, and then this guy is the brachioradialis. Alright. Again, I didn't take my advice and do the gesture line first and build it up, so let's kind of pretend to do that in retrospect. Okay, something like that. So this one, again, wraps around to the thumb side. Here's the thumb, and it's going to tuck in behind the tricep, wrap around to the thumb side, and it's two muscles, but I don't know, unless you're super buff, I guess maybe then it would show. And then again, I just kind of divide it and make that little thing, and on this one, I guess there is kind of a little thing down there, but not really. So it's not a perfect rule, but it really seems to help me out. And again, I'm trying to cater this towards people who are, you know, who don't already have an advanced understanding of anatomy, because if you do, then, you know, you don't really need this video. This might not help you out. And also, I'm just sharing what I've learned in my recent studies, and this is how I do things, so I hope that's helpful to you guys. Alright, cool. So this is a side view. Enough of that. We'll just take a look at it again. This one, see how it's straight? Doesn't have that much life. This one, not that lively, but let's just give it a little more curve like that. And boom, I feel like even just doing that already, you know, that's so much nicer. This looks like a robot again, and that's because I didn't do the gesture line. So yeah, gesture lines are great. So let's see if I can remember to do that in the next one. So of course, we've got to come up here and do the buff guy pose, showing his biceps, and Alright, so I really like doing this, so let's do the gesture line like I was saying. And actually, you know what, let's center it a little more. Just a little more. See, boom, boom. Give it some curves. It does curve, you see what I'm saying? It's not a straight, it's not like this. Oops. You know, that's gonna look super stiff. Looks alright because I'm making curves in other places like that and I'm rounding it out, I guess. But that's not preferable. From there, we can put in, let's do the structure like I was saying before. Something like that, okay? And then we can go ahead and fill it in. So, I really love this view because everything just flows together so nicely. So here's the deltoid tucking in behind this form. Okay. And then we got a trapezius coming up like that. And then so there's this kind of double bump, like one here, right? And then you got, it's still doing this like I was doing before, but it's coming out from a different angle. So it's kind of got one bump coming like that, and then the second one coming out like that. I'm going to go ahead and exaggerate those bumps a little bit, because I really like them. I think they're a nice landmark. Okay. I probably made the peck a little too long, but anyways. Not the point. Okay. Then, this guy, I like to make it really, I kind of like to make it more pointy. But I think that just to emphasize that there's like an apex to this muscle, the highest spot. And it's really, I like how this shows the tendons, or the ligaments. I'm not sure, I should know the difference between that. Alright. And it kind of looks like what you'd expect. But then there's this muscle right here, this beautiful muscle that tucks in. Okay. And then coming out from here, we've got some of these lats. But that's more of a back muscle, so I'm not going to go into that. And then, talk about it in my back video a little bit. I'm going to have to revisit that. That's what every time I'm finding I study a new body part, I'm going to have to revisit other ones I've studied because there's just so much detail, and those little details really make it beautiful. So here's the tricep, and the tricep's got this kind of double tricep going on. So that's a nice way to keep it, you know, keep it kind of flowing, keep it really, really feeling nice. And then on this view, so let's see, we'll have to remember, where does that big muscle go? The one that's on the same side as the thumb. So the thumb's on this side, the side we can't see. So that means that muscle is going to be on this side. And then the flatter muscles, so that's kind of like that. And then these flatter muscles kind of just wrap like that. We got an elbow. Here we got some, you can't really see them, but those, what are they called? Anyways. And then there's this, where the tricep also kind of attaches down here is the tendinous area. But not as point. So you can simplify it as this is a one big form. So I'll do a simplified one on the other side. So like you can just draw it like kind of like this. And then I love this strap that comes across here. It's like it's holding the arm together. And so it's nice to use that. Something like this. And put that little muscle there. Get the lats coming in, and then just sweep this one right across and flatten out. So that would be like a more simplified version. And it actually stops, see it stops a little bit before it gets here. So there is a kind of this little gap. I think that's kind of an important detail. It looks nice. Okay. Okay. Cool, cool, very nice, feeling it. Alright, so that's basically that flexing arm muscle. And let's see if there's any other views that we need to look at right now. This is the last one I think I'm going to go for in this video. And I hope that'll drive the idea home. So let's start off with the gesture. I'm getting better at remembering this now. Okay. the hand, and the deltoid coming like this. Alright, let's just leave it simple like that. Okay, so we've got the deltoid coming in more towards the front. I think here you can see it more, but it's also because he's turned slightly, like we can see a little more of his back, so it's a thing of perspective too in this issue. And see, I made this part too long, and that's a tendency I have, so let's just go real quick and shorten it. Cheating a little using Photoshop. Okay, and then so you got the bicep coming out. Just like that. Alright, come on. Alright, so you got the bicep coming out, easy. And then see, this is the brachialis, is pretty big right there. It's almost covering the bicep. I'm actually under exaggerating a little bit, but anyways. And then here we got the thumb, so let's give him a thumbs up so we can emphasize that this side is where the thumb is. And then so that is where that muscle is. It's going to wrap around, and since the arm is turned around, it's wrapping. Basically, it wraps towards the side of the thumb. So if it's already on the side of the thumb, if the hand isn't turned another way, then it's not going to be doing too much wrapping. I mean, there are two of them, so it kind of wraps around itself. But let's just simplify it into one. And then it just goes straight over to the thumb. Boom. And like we said, it tucks behind the tricep. So we've got, we've got this, the tricep tendons coming down into the elbow, something like that. Okay, and then these guys come. So I made the forearm way too long. I can fix this easily. Something like that. Now I made it too short. Anyways, I don't know if you guys know this, but the philosophy behind Fantastic Anatomy is that we don't worry about proportion because it's boring to measure proportion. Be like, oh, this is 4 heads tall, this is 1 billion heads tall, whatever. Takes forever. I don't know. I don't like it personally. I'm not that kind of artist. So I said, to hell with the proportions. Let's just learn all the muscles, and I'm sure it'll come intuitively. And it's true. It is slowly but surely. I'm getting more able to intuitively judge proportion. So here we've got the V. Again, the V is not perfect, but I don't know. It really does help me. It makes it feel like I'm putting together, it gives me all the puzzle pieces. And then I'm going to go back and refine my understanding of the forearm later. But for now, I thought it would be better to get a good feel for it, and so I can get the whole body's anatomy going, and then I can go back to each part and get every little detail and really get those beautiful nuances going on. But I want to work from the general to the specific. So yeah, thumbs up. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up down here somewhere. That would really be appreciated. And yeah, peace, God bless, and stay fantastic, everyone.